Hi and welcome. My name is Keely Reason. I'm the owner of Love Hope Adventure, where I blog about the marriage relationship, intimacy, and marriage, and how you can go deeper with your spouse. And today I am talking about how a wife can give her husband a blowjob or oral sex, however you want to call it. And I wanted to give you a couple of tips on this, a few pieces of advice, because I know it's really tough. This is such an intimate thing. Not that sex isn't intimate, it absolutely is. But this is such an intimate act that a wife can please her husband. And I have a couple of tips and pointers for you all, for you women that are listening, or even husbands who want to work with their wives on this who may be struggling. So the first tip that I have is that you all speak about this together ahead of time. And I know it is really hard and vulnerable to talk about sex. I know so many people, they will have sex, but they'll never talk about it. It's really important that you get comfortable speaking to your spouse about the things that they want and the things that you want, whatever that looks like. And so I encourage you both to get some clear ideas and understandings of expectations. Okay, if you just go into this thing without ever talking about it or without any expectation, then things may not go well for you. For example, if your husband thinks that he is supposed to ejaculate in your mouth and you should swallow it, but you guys didn't have that conversation in advance, and your expectation is you're going to finish him some other way once you have given him oral sex. Maybe you will finish him through using your hand or something else, maybe just having sex after that. So it's really important that you guys have some amount of communication ahead of time. It's also important to have that communication during, because here's the thing, especially when it comes to oral sex, things are so sensitive, okay? The emotions are different, what you're doing is different. Maybe this sensation isn't enough and your husband needs you to do more of something. It's going to be important that he has that ability to tell you that. So start by having open conversation before you engage in this. The second thing you need to do is pick a good position for the two of you. Something that is going to be comfortable for you and for your husband. So find a way. Like if you are not someone who can really sit on your knees, then I would not recommend getting on your knees. You can do something else. There's several positions you can try. You can have your husband stand while you sit on the bed. You can have your husband lay down and you get on top of him. Whatever that position is, you can check out Christian-friendly sex positions. There are a lot of different ways that they have in the pictures, and they are all very tastefully done. They're just blue and pink stick figures to kind of give you some ideas of oral sex positions you can try. But go with something simple, something easy. And if you haven't given your husband much oral sex, I recommend you do something where you remain in control for the most part, where your husband isn't going to be doing a lot of thrusting, where you're the one controlling the situation until the two of you learn each other and figure this out. The next thing I suggest is that as if you don't know what your own gag reflex is like, I recommend that you use your hand on your husband as a way to keep things from going too far down. Okay, and just move your hand wherever you need to keep things from going too far down your throat. It's going to kill everything if you throw up or if you trigger your own gag reflex. So it's so important that you just do a little at a time, that you work your way up to that. So using your hand or both hands or whatever it's going to take, that's really helpful. And then another thing that I would recommend is that you ask your husband to point out the parts of him that are most sensitive. The places on him that you should be focusing on with, maybe like with a more pointed tongue, and areas where maybe you should be more flat. In fact, there may be times during oral sex where he wants you to be lighter or harder or with a pointed tongue or a flat tongue or whatever, or more of a sucking motion or a kissing motion. So there are so many ways that you can please your spouse with your mouth. I recommend that you avoid your teeth as much as possible, and you may need to take your lips and cover your teeth with them in order to keep that from happening. So just try very hard. Keep your teeth back. Keep your lips relaxed so that you're not hurting him in some way. And then you can try different sucking, licking techniques, okay? You can focus on him using your tongue or your lips. You might also use a combination with your hands as well. Maybe you'll put lube on them. If you're going to use lube during oral sex, make sure it's something that's edible, like coconut oil, or a lube that is meant for you to consume it, okay? So just be careful. You don't want to put things in your mouth that are not food safe. So that's why a lot of couples actually use coconut oil for something like this. So if you are using lube for your hand because you want to use your hand as part of the experience, then again, make sure that it's food safe. So you should start by slow. Slow motions are always good when it comes to any type of sex, unless your spouse is already really excited and revved up. So if you don't know where they are mentally or with their arousal, ask them. All right, do you want something harder right now? Do you want me to start soft? Again, when it comes to oral sex, communication is so key. Don't think you're not doing it right because you have to ask them, does this feel good? Do you want me to do this? Or that they have to tell you. Because from every time that you have oral sex, whether you're receiving it or giving it, it's going to be different. It's going to feel different. You're going to be in a different position. They're going to be at a different state of arousal. Things are going to feel different to them from one way to another. And there are ways you can create other sensations. For example, if you use mouthwash ahead of time, this is probably going to create a different sensation for your husband. If you start with ice in your mouth and you have a cold mouth, it's going to create a different sensation versus if you were to drink something warm and use your mouth on them at that time. So that's important to know that every time you give oral sex, it's going to be a little different. It's not going to be the same exact rhythm and thing every single time. It's always going to change. That's the really exciting thing about oral sex, is that it's very hard to get into a routine or rhythm with it because it's different every time. So I recommend that you ask your spouse, how do you want me to come? Do you want to start off soft, harder, slower, faster? And then try and when you feel their body moving, maybe your spouse isn't going to give you a lot of cues. Maybe you guys have to be super quiet. Maybe your spouse isn't somebody who is going to be real vocal or verbal or whatever. However, you can stop and ask them. If they aren't giving you the body signs that you're looking for, whether or not something feels good, tell them in advance, you have permission to say this isn't doing great and I'm not loving it, but I want you to do this. And you guys just have to agree ahead of time that no one's going to have hurt feelings over it, okay? That you want that feedback because that feedback is going to help you serve them and please them more. And it's important that they feel comfortable to do that. And if they're not giving you any feedback and you have been licking on them and sucking on them for a while and things aren't really progressing, stop and ask them, okay, what can I do? Can we change positions? Can we, what do you need right now? So definitely leave that door open for them. So there's a couple of different types of motions you can try. You can do full mouth, go down as far as you can, and you can basically suck your cheeks in, and that creates like a suction type of motion. You don't even have to go up and down like you would if you were having sex. You can try and create that same type of, stimulation for them as well. But I say do different things. Okay, so one thing for men is a lot of times they don't need like the repetitive stimulation that a woman needs. Like a lot of times women need like that direct stimulation to be the same thing over and over and over, but men like different things. So try a lot of different stuff. You can also do full mouth sucking up and down. You can do more of a kissing motion where you are kissing your husband up and down or all over. You can use your tongue where you are going up and down and maybe you're stimulating with your tongue flat